Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. Hi, I'm Gary Smith, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. And as always, I got my main man in the studio with me, George Crumley. Top of the day to you, George.
Hey, Smitty, top of the day to you also, man. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Weather's keeping me on the inside, but other than that, my sunshine is still bright. You got this inclement weather up here, man, so I can't get out and swing the clubs.
Oh, well, hey, it'll come. Yeah, it'll come soon. Just be
Yeah,
patient.
yeah, that's what they tell me. You people that know me know I don't have a whole lot of patience. So,
Well,
yeah,
nothing better to do than talk about finances and educate our audience, man, because, here again, I'm really excited today. We're going to talk about your book.
hey,
Congratulations on finishing that book.
thank you,
But
thank you.
today we're going to talk about 5 keys to create passive income with commercial real estate, written by
Yeah,
Gary Smith. I think that's a great accomplishment. Great accomplishment.
amen. Well, thank you so much, George. It was a project in the making for a while, and I've always had, I've always loved to write anyway. But when it comes to business, finance, and certainly, how we are here at the Crotchety Old Men Podcast, we like to share information. So, what better way to do it is through a book, And one of the things that's on my bucket list anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. What a great way to share information is through a book. I mean, that's a heck of an accomplishment. So yeah, let's dive right into it. So as I'm looking at the table of contents, you hit on a couple of different topics, but you start off with it says introduction, creating passive income through real estate investing. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's spend a couple of minutes on that.
Sure. A lot of people look at real estate as a vehicle that can produce passive income. Now, I guess first we have to describe what is passive income, right? Uh, Passive income is that type of income that you do not actively have to generate. What I mean by that, well, hey, you take, for instance, people who buy fix and flips. All right. That's pretty much work intensive. You have to do something to get that property up and running. And it requires you or a manager of some sort to make that happen. Whereas with passive income, it typically is derived from, let's say, for instance, real estate investment trusts. Okay, that you can buy those as we talked to in previous episodes in the stock market, if you will. Then you also have your passive income types from syndications. I know that's big right now. There are people who will just entrust a sponsor who is knowledgeable about real estate investing or apartment property specifically, and they'll invest in those people, and that they'll do the work, all the heavy lifting, as we like to call it, and then the investor themselves, they just reap the cash flow and hopefully a waterfall, depending upon their exit strategy. And then another form of passive income is commercial real estate, such as I talk about often, and single tenant real estate as derived from your CVS, drugstores, dollar stores, stuff like that.
Oh man, that's pretty good. So interesting enough, you talk about strategies in chapter 2. So let's talk a little bit. How did you go into and discuss strategies?
Well, George, I kind of looked at it like when I look back on my career, you got to have an end game in mind. Why? Why are you buying a property or investing in real estate to begin with? All right. And so my strategy is always to, well, it's like this too. Before I get deep into that strategy piece, is that you make your money when you buy real estate, right? And so your strategy has to be, well, first of all, how am I going to buy it? And I think people kind of get it twisted sometimes. They're so focused on what to buy and sometimes neglect spending a lot of time on how to buy it. And so if you buy wrong, you end up not coming out on top, or let's put it this way, your yield is probably going to be a lot less if you buy the property wrong. And in the book, I try to delve into how to structure offers, how to get your financing up front in terms of where you want to get that money from. Of course, buying it right also could mean that get seller financing. And and I talk a lot about creative financing because so many times, particularly in today's market, it's hard to get debt. It's hard to get financing from the banks, and it's going to get more hard. It's going to get harder. So hopefully, those principles in my book will help people navigate through the turbulent times that's coming as it relates to being able to get money. The cost of money is high now, and so you want to be able to navigate around that.
Yeah, that's so important, Smitty, because it's almost situation where you don't want to have money to invest. You just want to have
Mhm.
more so the idea of investing because you have the money. You often go to the traditional methods, which is
Mhm.
to a mortgage company or to a bank, which is going to charge you a certain amount of interest, and you're going to go off on your merry way after you showing your taxes and things of that nature. But like you say, when you get into the creative side of it, you actually take advantage of some of the things that are out there, which you already talked about. Seller financing. That's one of the probably one of the easiest way, or one of the most lucrative ways to
Mhm.
buy property, because now you're not all in, but you kind of take advantage of what the situation is of with the owner. Maybe he's losing the property, maybe he's got a urgent need to get out of the property. So you got to do some work, you got to do some sales work, you got to find those properties, and it makes you a better person because of the fact that now you're putting forth some effort to get this property.
Sure, absolutely. And matter of fact, when you talk about seller financing, some people think that it's a desperate seller, and not in all cases that's the situation. And seller financing has a lot of benefits to a seller. One is the tax benefits. If you don't need all your cash at once, then it's the opportune way of exiting a property without creating a huge tax bill versus if you get all the cash at once, that's a big tax bill right there, unless you do a 1031 exchange, and that's a whole nother chapter.
Hmm. Well, interesting enough, we've kind of leaned into chapter 3 where you talk about purchasing real estate, even if you have limited capital or experience.
Yeah, so I think sometimes when people, the best way is, I forgot who said it, and I won't mess up the quote, but if you don't have any money, then you can't spend any. So therefore, you can't you can't invest, and sometimes that can be a good thing because you can if you have a good deal will always attract money. So that should never be the first concern. Certainly, you want to structure your deals, whereas that where the money comes from is not nearly as important as to how much you have to put in and what you expect to get back out. Money returned sooner is always better than money returned later. And so, as I show in the book and as I teach in the course, is that you have to understand the power of money. You need to understand the compounding of money and how interest rates affect your deal. All right. And so that's why I always go back to buying the property right, structuring the right financing. There's a time to use your commercial lenders, but initially, most investors don't use them in the beginning. Okay, and that's the thing that most of us don't know. We think that I got to get my credit score up to 720, and I got to go give the bank all this stuff, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll find out that you're working for the bank. And then if it's a buy and hold strategy, well, the first 5, 10, 15 years that you have that bank debt, majority of that money is going toward interest, and you're not paying down any of your debt. So you further behind actually than you are than it appears to be. So those are things that I try to bring out in the book, try to help people understand how money is used. And real estate is really a finance game. It's not about bricks and mortar. It's primarily a finance game. That building is there for the sole purpose of generating a means of exchange of capital. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think once you understand that, your approach to real estate becomes completely different. Because like you
Yeah.
said, people hammer in that there's only one way to buy real estate, but there's a
Mhm.
multitude of ways to buy. And as you investigate and get into some of the more alternative ways to do it, it's definitely more so benefits you in the long run. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls. I mean, maintaining rental properties What do you talk about when you get to that chapter? I think that's chapter 5.
Oh yeah. Well, pitfalls, as you know, some folks use the Burr method: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. That's that Burr methodology, and so it's all set up primarily to entice people. Whereas you're able to get into a property, but it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as it made to seem, because you have to deal with contractors. You have to understand budgeting. You have to understand supply chain issues that could crop up. You kind of mentioned it earlier that there's a lot of ways to get into real estate, but how do you get out? Okay, what I go back to that exit strategy. Either your exit strategy is going to be to refinance or it's going to be to sell. All right, and with traditional financing, it kind of forces you into that box. Whereas if you use seller financing or creative financing, now you've opened up several other options to yourself other than being forced to sell. Because let's look at it. If you're buying real estate or investing in real estate for the purpose of having passive income, why would you ever want to sell that income? you know? And the way the system is set up is that it forces you to either sell the asset because there's a balloon payment coming, particularly if you use interest only. See, interest only seems like it's a good idea in the beginning because your note is lower. But you got to pay the piper at the end of that term, whether it's 3 years interest only or 5 years interest only. And then when that balloon payment kicks in, and that's what we're going to see a lot of in 2023, this year, and the next 24 to 36 months after this year. And it's going to be a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So tell me, what are some of the takeaways from the book?
All right. Well, some of the takeaways I try to share with people. Number one, build a team. Teamwork does make the dream work. Real estate, and specifically commercial real estate, is not a solo artist industry. You have to surround yourself with professionals, people hopefully to know more than you do about it. And even to this day, I still try to surround myself with people. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. All right. So I try to surround myself with other people. What I mean by that, you certainly should have a real estate agent or a broker that specializes in the type of property that you're most interested in. You see, some people run out here, George, and they'll buy property that doesn't even fit their lifestyle. That doesn't fit what they really want. All right. Why buy, let's say I'll pick on rental properties if you know you want to travel a lot and you're not a handy person, you know? So why not buy a property either through a syndication where you don't have to deal with that sort of stuff? All right. If you're in a cumulative phase, meaning that you're pretty much younger, you have that energy, you have the acclimation to maybe go out there and get your hands dirty or what have you. And that's okay. You learn the business. Or you have a penchant for dealing with people. You got to understand people when you're dealing with real estate. People buy real estate and rent real estate for various reasons. So you got to educate yourself and do those type of things. Some of the other takeaways is that continue to increase your knowledge about financing, about interest rates, about mortgages and property valuations, and those sort of things. And today we have the AI and artificial intelligence. So you have all these machines out here and things like that finding properties is becoming easier and easier. So finding them is not nearly as important as learning how to finance.
No, it's not. That's interesting. And as we talk about the book, it also makes it easier for those that are trying to get into this business. All they do is run out and get your book. As far as when we were coming up, we had to stub our toe and
Mm-hmm.
scramble and try to figure all this stuff out on the go. So, for our listening audience out there, hey, grab this book and it'll take you through how to do this and help me out here. You can do this on the commercial side as well as the residential side.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of it. Although that's my playground, if you will, commercial. But there's also some tips in there for residential investors if they're looking to that. But I wanted to really put this book out for those who have always aspired to get into commercial real estate. there's not enough of us, black folks, that's actively involved in commercial real estate, whether on the brokerage side or whether on the investment side or even in some of the other careers. We've had people on our podcast from every area, from appraisers to inspectors and what have you. But from the totality of what we represent here in the United States, commercial real estate is the core or the center or the driver of the economy. That's what drives the economy. All right, commercial real estate. There's over, I think it's about $20 trillion of commercial real estate just here in the United States alone. And investors from all over the world, they come here to the U.S. and invest in commercial real estate. And we can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be at the top where you're doing $800 billion transactions. You can make a whole heck of a lot of money by investing in commercial real estate. That's under $1 million, actually. It all depends on what type of passive income and what that number needs to look like. George, there's a lot of people when they look at passive income, and I say this in my book. How much money do you want to have extra coming into your household? Because you see, if you can create an extra $500 a month, that changes some people's lives. An extra $500 a month right now would change some households. But let me tell you this. An extra $1,000 a month can change some zip codes out there. So we're not talking about monumental type leaps from buying a 2-family flat to buying a 4-unit strip center. And that's what I say in the book. I want to expound and expand people's dreams, expand your thinking, and more importantly, expand your horizon.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, Smitty. It's a mindset that's something that we think is, out of our touch, out of our reach, out of our grasp. We don't really understand that commercial real estate is something that's obtainable, and we have to, make sure that the information is put out. And I think your book is going to be a great asset to do that, is to put the word out, to folks that, hey, commercial real estate is something that's obtainable, something you can do, and it's not out of your grasp. And I think that's so important because, like you say, commercial real estate can change your life and change the life of those coming after you once you get involved. And it just takes one deal. That's all it takes is one deal.
Getting into commercial real estate certainly changed mine. And so once I got on the inside, I didn't want to be the spook by the door. I want to be the spook who removed the door, So
this definitely will help. This book will definitely help remove the door because of the fact that it's here again, getting information out. And that's what, our core pillars: information, education, exposure, and opportunity. And your book definitely hits on all 4 of those key pillars. And you can't really ask for that any more than that. So great. This is a great opportunity. I'm glad you wrote the book. Here again, congratulations for that. And here again, tell our audience where they can pick the book up at.
Well, the book is available right now on Amazon. All you need to do is go to Amazon.com, put in 5 keys to create passive income with commercial real estate. It's going to pop up, and there you are. I wanted to make sure that it was affordable, so $10. Hey, that's a $10 investment. And my goal is that if you take just one idea out of that book and apply it, you could possibly turn that $10 investment into a 1,000-fold return, and change generations and possibly change your own zip code. There's a lot of information in there, and I just wanted to make sure that, again, it's accessible. There's not a lot of people that look like me that talks about commercial real estate, but have actually done the deals and the financing of them. So I want to make sure that I don't leave this planet with all this information and knowledge inside of me. So the best way for me to do that or accomplish that is to put it in a book.
Yeah, but there's another key to that too. You're doing a class, right? Also,
right. Have a course in there.
Let's just take a couple of minutes and talk about the class, and so then people can see how the book and the class kind of work together.
Oh, absolutely. The course is a 12-week course, and what I do is take you from A to Z in terms of preparing you to buy property. Theory is one thing. We can talk about real estate and talk about ideas and creative finance and all that stuff, and it's good to talk. But hey, you got to take action. Take action. So the course is designed to develop you. If you start off, our first module is about the mindset. You nailed it earlier. It's all about your mindset. But we take you through a step-by-step 12-week course. We call it my 12-step program, but basically, because you have to change your mindset when you step into the big game of commercial real estate. But we take you with that. And so through this course, you'll learn how to not only finance the properties, you'll know how the difference of spreads. You're going to understand the nuances of negotiation. More importantly, you're going to understand the contracts and how to structure those deals. And then we get really deep into creative financing and all the nuances that I'm not going to go into too much here on the podcast. But buy the book, sign up for the course, and then you will go from there.
Is there a special way for them to sign up for the course if they're interested?
Once they get, yeah, absolutely. My website, you can go to the website, www.swanmoney.com. There's a video on the website that talks about the webinar. You can tune into that. That's free. I'm thinking in terms of perhaps having an introductory course, a freebie for those that are interested. And send me an email, info@swanmoney.com. Those that may have interest. Based upon that interest, certainly, I want people to be able to get access to information. You know, George, that's what has kept us back for so long. We don't have access to information, we don't have access to deal flow, and we don't have access to cash flow. I am here to eliminate all that mess. And so now I want it to be to the point where we don't have any more excuses about why we can't do the same thing like Reginald Lewis said years ago in his book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?
Well, you just dispelled that rumor. We got access to Gary Smith, and we got access
Amen.
to 5 keys to create passive income with commercial real estate. So hey, with those two, we're gonna make millionaires, right?
Amen. That's the goal.
There you
1,000
go.
of them at least.
There we go. All right. So hey, this kind of concludes another episode of the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. Smitty, you got anything to send us off with? I mean, it's been pretty much your show today, so you might as well end it. What you got nice for us?
Well, let's see here. I think, what's the appropriate quote for today? You know, George, usually
I
I'm
know
always.
you got one stored up there.
There you go. All right.
Give our audience a few pearls.
All right. Here comes a pearl. I'm stammering for time here as I looking through my quote book, and I'm looking at stuff that I haven't that I've said already. Here you are. A problem is simply a question to be resolved. A solution is an answer to a problem.
There you go. And we've
Okay.
just provided that answer to the problem.
Amen.
How to become wealthy.
That's right.
So, as we always say on the Crotchety Old Men, if you didn't know,
now you know.
You know. Take care. Peace.
All right. Peace.
This is Dr. Paul Clemens with the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. If you're interested in financial tools to build wealth, and you're interested in ways to maximize your health through holistic alternatives, then you are just the audience that we're looking for. Tune in each week, every Thursday, to the Crotchety Old Men Podcast, where George Crumley, Gary Smith, and I offer you in-depth discussions on health and wealth. Subscribe to the Crotchety Old Men Podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.